Welcome back to This Is Not CBC.
Today, I want to tell you what really happened behind the Freedom Convoy and how it wasn't just Justin Trudeau or Freeland making these decisions. Mark Carney, too, played a major role. This is personal for me. My bank account was frozen. I never got my money back. And I'm not alone. You're about to hear how powerful people used fear, emergency powers, and control over the banking system to punish peaceful Canadians, and how Liberal cabinet ministers refused to take any accountability. Here's a clip of MP Larry Brock questioning Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland. When pressed, she refuses to answer how and why people's bank accounts were frozen.
Freeland, you'll agree with me that the state-owned, taxpayer-funded Canadian Broadcasting Corporation reported on February the 10th, 2022, that the GoFundMe donations to the convoy protest came from donors located outside of Canada. You'd agree with that?
I don't have the report in front of me and I haven't memorized all CBC reports, but I'm prepared to believe you.
In fact, they stated that the donations came from America, United Kingdom, France, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, and the Netherlands. You'd also accept that as fact?
I don't see the article before me, but you say that's what it says.
They even claimed that the convoy might be Russian funded. Do you recall that?
Again, you're reading from the article.
Yes. On March 21st, 2002, the CBC, without any explanation, without apology, without any clarity, retracted their story regarding the funding of the protest. You were aware of that?
Again, I'm not speaking for the CBC. I'm speaking for
I'm not
the
asking
Ministry
you to
of
speak
Finance.
for the CBC. I'm asking, were you informed that the CBC retracted the story, the false story, about foreign funding donations to the convoy?
Again, Mr. Brock, I don't believe that the CBC is being interrogated here. I believe it's the government of
Just
Canada.
answer the question, Minister Freeland. Were you aware, yes or no? It's a simple question.
I don't have the article before me, and I'm not here to answer questions about the CBC and
The
its
Deputy
reporting.
Prime Minister, the most senior cabinet minister, is not prepared to accept whether or not the CBC retracted a false story?
I don't speak for the CBC, sir.
You, as the most senior cabinet minister and the Deputy Prime Minister, relied upon that initial story from the CBC and shared your concerns with Canadians regarding terrorism funding and money laundering. Your words, correct?
Let me be very clear. My principal concern when it comes to the illegal occupation and the illegal blockades is the economic harm that was done to Canada.
Let me be very clear, Minister Freeland. Your words several times in the House referred to terrorism funding and money laundering. Are you saying you didn't use those words?
I am speaking here today, and I am talking about the central motivation of our very serious
And
actions.
I'm here to ask you questions, and I expect, unlike question period, I expect a response. So my response is, do you recall using the words terrorism funding and money laundering in the House and reporting outside the House? Yes or no, Minister Freeland?
I believe if we were in a court of law where I think you once worked, that might be called badgering the witness, Mr. Brock.
Chair?
Yeah.
Can we allow the question to be answered?
Yes.
Thank you. As I said, my core concern as Minister of Finance and my central justification for these very serious measures that we put in place, as was clear in my opening statement.
You're not
as I
answering the
have said
question. I'm
throughout,
going to move on.
is the economic
You're not
impact.
answering the question, and I will move on.
Madam Chair, on a point of order, it's entirely possible that Mr. Brock doesn't like the answers he's hearing, but the witness is entitled to provide an answer. If she could just be provided the opportunity to provide an
Madam
answer.
Chair, the witness may not like the questions, but she's not entitled to establish her own facts in responding to an answer that is non-responsive and not relevant to the question.
I'd ask you just we'll move back 20 seconds, allow you to ask your last question.
Do you agree with me that the Deputy Director of FinTrack, Mr. McKillop, confirmed at committee that the convoy funding did not come from terrorism funding or money laundering, and the typical person who donated hundreds and thousands of dollars to the convoy came from their own resources and posed no security threat? Do you accept that?
What I accept, Mr. Brock, is that the core threat was to the Canadian economy, to our reputation as a trading partner and investment destination.
Thank you
I
for the
made that clear in
non-response,
my
Minister.
opening remarks, and that is my view.
Thank you for the non-response, Minister. Very helpful.
We'll move.
That clip right there is not just a political showdown. It's a snapshot of how people in power evade responsibility. Brock asks Freeland about the CBC article she referenced, the one claiming the convoy was being terror-funded. That story was retracted. Yet Freeland used it as justification for freezing people's accounts under the Emergencies Act. And when you called her on it, she says she doesn't speak for CBC, but she leaned on that narrative to strip away citizens' bank access. Here's what really happened. Under the Emergencies Act, Canada's banks were given the power to freeze accounts of people linked to the convoy. RCMP gave banks a list of names, not just protesters, but supporters and donors. 257 financial products were frozen. Bank accounts, credit cards, corporate accounts, even crypto wallets. Some accounts were frozen beyond the RCMP lists, based on banks' risk assessments. Even after accounts were unfrozen, some had lifetime markers attached by banks, a permanent stigma. Now, many people don't know this. Mark Carney, former Bank of Canada governor and finance insider, helped push the crackdown. He publicly called the convoy seditious and advocated freezing the money that funded it. Carney framed the protest as a threat to democracy and later supported bureaucrats who executed these freezes. He wasn't just observing. He helped shape the policy. This is where it hits home. I didn't commit any violence. I didn't break the law. I donated to a peaceful protest. Yet my account was frozen. My financial freedom stripped. The government hasn't made it right. Ordinary Canadians, caught up in this net, had their money taken, their lives disrupted. And when confronted, Freeland refuses to answer questions. So how do liberals stay in power? It's not just elections, it's control. Frame dissent as dangerous. Carney, Freeland, and the elites labeled peaceful protesters as security threats. Use emergency powers. The Emergencies Act gave sweeping authority to freeze accounts without due process. Leverage the banking system. Banks were pressured to comply, sometimes going beyond official lists. Avoid accountability. When confronted in Parliament, they dodge, deflect, and deny responsibility. This is not hypothetical. They weaponized the financial system against ordinary citizens who disagreed with government policy. Ask yourself, how would you feel if your bank account was frozen for supporting a cause you believe in? If you were never given a fair chance to defend yourself? This is a fundamental threat to our rights, our financial freedom, and our democracy. We must demand real answers from Freeland, Carney, and every liberal minister who thinks they can silence citizens with economic power. Chrystia, Freeland, and Mark Carney owe us more than silence. They owe us transparency. They owe justice. I won't be quiet about this, and neither should you. Canada deserves better than power wielded without accountability.